Hi, I'm going to talk about the splits and divisions of the Irish Republican Army. Even though the Irish Republican Army's main goal is the end of the British rule in Northern Ireland and the reunification of Northern Ireland with the Irish Free State, they have gone through some splits that obviously created divisions. The first split came after the Irish War of Independence between 1919 and 1921. It is important to say that until here we had an all-Irish Republican Army. This all-Irish Republican Army is the one that is recognized in the first deal as the National Revolutionary Army. The first deal was the first assembly that refused to sit in the British Parliament and established a new National Revolutionary Parliament. So until here we had the all-Irish Republican Army. Then the first split was triggered by the signing of the Anglo-Irish Treaty on December 6, 1921. This treaty was signed by the British government and the Irish Commission. This treaty created the Irish Free State as a self-governing state within the British Empire. That meant that the head of state had to be the British monarch. It also established Northern Ireland as part of the United Kingdom. This treaty made some of the most radical and traditional part of the Irish Republican Army angry and left us with two factions, the pro-treaty faction and the anti-treaty faction. The pro-treaty faction was commanded by Michael Collins, and they thought that this treaty was a step in the right direction towards the kind of independence they wanted. They also thought that the IRA couldn't continue fighting the British forces successfully, and they were the ones that were building this new state. They were participating in the creation of the Irish Free State. Then they also created the new National Army. Then we have the anti-treaty faction that was commanded by Eamon de Valera, who had resigned to the Sinn Féin, and they believed that this treaty was a betrayal to the ideas that had motivated them to fight. Also, contrary to the feelings of the pro-treaty faction, they thought that the IRA was stronger than ever and they had to continue fighting. They also were angry at the Dell's authorities because they thought that its members had broken their oath to defend the Irish Republic. They stayed with the label of the Irish Republican Army. Eventually, this led to the Irish Civil War in 1922, and when the war broke out, the Irish government issued a statement that said that they were now to be called the National Army, and its opponents, the anti-treaty faction, were now to be called the Irregulars, and they had nothing to do with the IRA that fought in the Irish War of Independence. This attitude continued as the war continued, and it got stronger with the assassination of Michael Collins in June 1922. After he died, the pro-treaty faction thought of the anti-treaty faction as irregulars fighting the lawful government. Then, eventually, this war ended with the capitulation of the irregulars, and Eamon de Valera, with some irregulars, formed a new political party called the Fianna Fáil. The second split, soon followed by a similar split in the Sinn Féin, was on December 1969, or happened in December 1969. This split happened because of several reasons. The first reason was that some of the most radical and traditional part of the IRA thought that other members were drifting away from the nationalist and traditional roots to socialist and Marxist ideas. They also were angry because the Sinn Féin had ended with a policy of abstentionism that was really important to them because they thought that the Irish Free State was illegitimate and they were only loyal to the Irish Republic. And when I say the Irish Republic, I mean both islands together without the British ruling. Also, we can say that the provisionals emerged from the violence of the 1960s when Catholics demanded a change from the Unionist and Protestant government. When this happened, the official part of the IRA wanted to achieve reunification through pacifist and political tactics, and they stayed in Dublin. But the provisional part of the IRA wanted to go and fight, they wanted to go and defend their community, and they wanted to protect the Catholics, so they went and fight. They even went to Belfast, which is the city that saw the most violence in the riots of August 1969. Then we were left with two factions again. The first was the official Irish Republican Army, and this official Irish Republican Army wanted a independent, united, socialist Ireland. They saw it as a 32 counties workers' country, and they wanted to achieve this through parliamentary and political tactics. They wanted, or they believed in no violence, and they saw its role as a purely defensive one. They even announced in 1972 a ceasefire reserving the right of self-defense against the British government or any other group. Then we have the Provisional Irish Republican Army, and they believed that violence, especially terrorism, was a necessary part of the struggle for a free IRA, for a free Ireland. They began a systematic terrorist campaign which included activities such as bombings, kidnappings, assassinations, robberies, punishment beatings, and so on. They also carried out bombings on civilian targets such as pubs, subway stations, and hotels, and so on. They also carried out the assassination of Lord Mountbatten, which I'm going to explain later. On 1998, they did the Good Friday Accord, and as my friend said before, and in 2006, the English and the Irish government both said that they didn't believe that the Provisional Irish Republican Army was still carrying out centralized terrorist activities.